Just give me a 20-second.
I just have to send Lisa the
We're live.
Link.
Bonsoir tout le monde, bienvenue à cette réunion spéciale du Conseil du juin le 24 2021, l'ouverture de la réunion à 7 heures. So welcome everybody to the special council meeting, June 24, 2021. Opening of the meeting is 7 p.m. So I will need a proposer, mover and seconder to open the meeting. So Mrs. Astley and Mr. Lafleur, all in favor? Donc, déclaration d'intérêt pécuniaire, disclosure of pecuniary interests, seeing none. So we'll go to the adoption of the agenda. So there's only one subject, presentation by Eorn. So I need a mover and a seconder. Moved by Mr. Leroux, seconded by Mr. Saint-Amour, all in favor. So that brings us to the item, the presentation of the Eastern Ontario Regional Network. And I would like to introduce Lenny McKenzie from Rogers Communication and Jim Pine from the Eastern Ontario Regional Network, and it's all yours.
Well, great. Thank you very much, members of council, your worship. We're really pleased to be here today. Lisa Severson is trying to get into to join us, but she can't seem to find the link. And I don't know, Olivia, if you could send it to her, that would be great. And then she could join us if that's all right.
Absolutely.
But it's always a pleasure to be with our great friends at Prescott and Russell and give you an update. And we know we're on a very short time frame. The Leafs have been out for a while, so it's just another evening. But no, we're rooting for the Habs, so we'll be quick. So if you could just go to the next slide, that would be great. Olivia, can you move? There we go. Just a quick agenda. I'm going to give you a very brief update on Eorn's proposed gig project. The main event though is to talk about the cell project, and we're really pleased to have Lene and Amanda here from Rogers to share the presentation. We're really thrilled about it. So if we can go to the next slide. The gig project, we'll go to the next slide as well. Just to give you an update, I know that you're probably familiar with what Eorn is proposing to the federal and provincial governments, but essentially it's a fiber to the home project that would cover more than 540,000 premises across Eastern Ontario, including in Prescott and Russell. And it would deliver up to 1,000 megabits or more of speed to 95% of the demand area. And I'll show you a slide in just a second. But what it is really a project we think that will fix the broadband situation for our region for a long time to come. We call it fixing it for a generation. And Eastern Ontario, as we all know, has a lot of unserved or underserved premises or homes and businesses. In fact, they have 30% of all of those underserved and unserved premises across Ontario, more than 220,000 locations. But this is a signature project that would solve our problems for a long time to come, and we're hoping to convince Canada and Ontario to join with Eorn again to do the project, and we will see, I guess, hopefully in not too distant future. This is a map of what we call the demand area. It's really the service area for the proposed project. This is the 540,000 or so locations across Eastern Ontario that we'd like to serve. The pink areas is a demand area. It's really where there's a house, a business, a seasonal property, a cottage, or a doctor's office or something that creates a demand for bandwidth. So we've mapped it all out over the last couple of years, and this is the territory that we need to serve to do the gig project. The green areas just represent where the federal government tells us that you can get a 50-10 service, which is what they say should be the national standard, and we see that as being the bottom end of what people need and businesses need, and we're really shooting for the top end in terms of a gig to people's homes or businesses. So it's a big area, it's a big project, but certainly doable. It's what we do at Eorn, so just gives a good graphic representation of it. Next slide. years now doing the work to get ready for it. Made our submissions to both Canada and Ontario in 2020, and then resubmitted recently in March, on March the 1st, to try and again convince both levels of government to support it. And I have to tell you that your MPP, Francis Drouin, has been an amazing champion of the federal government. He has been just unbelievable. And I know Stefan could tell you more, but I need to say thank you publicly to Francis for his hard work on our behalf. So it's a big project. It's going to cost about $1 billion or thereabouts, and take a little bit of time. But this is where we're at this point. We're waiting for a decision from the federal or provincial governments to whether they're going to support it or not. The next slide talks about the cost of it, I think, if I get the right order. No, sorry. This is about why it's a good idea to build the project. We had two independent economists look at the idea of whether there was merit in doing a fiber to the home gig project across the region, because we really wanted to know for sure whether it was a good idea or not. And both studies came back. They were independent, but they came back with largely the same conclusions, that indeed this would really drive our regional economy forward. Would create up to 16,000 jobs during construction. Businesses growing from it, and all of that translates into economic activity, spending in our communities, which is important. Other things, it would generate some new property taxes for us, which is, as municipalities, we're always pleased to know about. It's a modest amount, but it certainly proves that it's a good idea to do this for properties. And the other thing is, the economists looked at the contribution that we've asked for from Canada, Ontario. We asked each of them for $200 million to support the project. Provincial governments will get their money back through increased tax revenues, and then from there on, it's as I call it, it's a bit of gravy for both levels of government. So it's a good deal, and it makes sense from that point of view for the federal and provincial governments to support it. Next slide. If we go to the next slide, there we go. Just a quick overview of how we would fund it. As I said, Canada and Ontario would give us $200 million. The Infrastructure Bank of Canada has money set aside for broadband projects, and we'd expect them to participate to the tune of about $400 million. And then, of course, we'd raise the rest of the money from the private sector, and that's what EORN really does. And just one comment, although $400 million sounds like a lot of money from Canada and Ontario together, it really represents just 5.7% of the total subsidy that's now available from both governments. They've set aside substantial dollars, $7 billion, to build better broadband infrastructure across Canada and Ontario. So this is where we would fund from. Next slide. These next two slides, I'm going to go really quickly, are just the provincial way the provincial and federal governments have allocated their money or put their money in. Ontario recently, in March the 24th, in their budget, added about $2.8 billion to their already allocated funds of about $1 billion that they'd set aside earlier. So the federal or provincial government stepped up big time to put money forward, and this is where we hope to get some of the money for the provincial allocation to a gig project. And the next slide is the federal funding. You'll know, I'm sure, about the Universal Broadband Fund. The federal government started out at $1.75 billion, and in their budget this spring added another $1 billion to the program. So they've got about $2.75 billion available towards broadband projects. And again, hopefully this is where we will get some our money for their share of the gig project. So that is a quick run through of where we're at with the gig. I need to say a major thank you to the United Counties for your ongoing support, and of course to the support that you've given through EORN all these years, and it's very much appreciated, the advocacy that you continue to provide. Never mind the hard work that just goes on from your participants who are on board, and Stefan and others over the years who have worked with EORN. Are there any questions on that? Okay, we can move into the main event, if that's okay. We're going to start with an EORN presentation on the cell gap project. So we can go to the next slide. Again, like all of our projects, it takes time to put it into place. And with the cell project, it really got started right after we finished our first project in 2014-15, when we had a bunch of MPs and MPPs come to us and say, listen, we're tired of not being able to stay connected with our cell call. Somebody needs to fix it. And we think EORN is a good vehicle for that. So that started the work that we've been the road that we were on to get ready for the project, and to where we are, to having a partner to do the work with us, and to actually get the project started. So it's taken a while, but now that we're going quickly. Thank goodness. Next slide. Just important to know that EORN has, and Roger shares these goals with us, have three main project goals. First, we want 99% or ubiquitous coverage across our region where people live or work and travel on roadways, major roadways, so that they can make that voice call and continue to have that kind. And I know in Lene's presentation, you will see a really good graphic representation of the coverage that will happen as a result of the project. But in addition to that, we want to make sure that people can do more than just make a call. And that's the 2 levels of service below the first bullet point. The standard definition level service, where you can do basic email or web browsing. And then importantly, what we call the high definition level of service. That's at least 85% across the demand area, so that people can do data intensive applications, whether it's video conferencing or streaming movies, but you could be as they're going along and maintain a live video stream as they're going. So the world opens up in a big way to new technological applications when we can do this basic coverage and capacity project. So it's very important. But those are 3 main goals that we've had. We've baked that into the contract with Rogers Communications. It's a big project. There are essentially 2 pieces to the project, and I know Lene and her team will speak a little bit more about this, but Rogers' footprint in Eastern Ontario is fairly extensive already. They have about 300 existing tower sites across the area that they're going to be upgrading to 5G capacity, and that work is getting underway right now with all of their existing towers. But we have to build new towers to fix the coverage problems that currently exist, and approximately 300 new towers will be built as part of the project over the next 5 years of life for the project. So you think of it in 2 parts, in 2 pieces that are coming together: existing towers and new towers. Everything has to be done by the middle of 2025 or thereabouts in terms of the work. And we are committed to meet or exceed the goals that I've mentioned just in the previous slide. And beyond that, over the next 5 years after the construction is completed, EORN will have a contract with Rogers to make sure that the service levels that are that we have agreement on so the way we make sure in the long term that service level agreement process is put into place. And we're very pleased that Rogers is very supportive of that approach. Next. Very basic, and again, Lene and her team will speak much more of this, but basically we're talking about radios and new towers that are upgraded and new equipment going on that are 5G compatible, which is the way the world is going, and thankfully we'll be being able to access that new technology through this project. When we build towers, generally they're going to be around 90 meters in height. There'll be some variance there, of course, depending on specific locations. But Rogers has already started work on looking for acquiring the tower sites that they need. We're not making those potential tower sites public. It's a competitive business that Rogers is in, but they're very busy already looking to secure sites for the new towers. And the radio equipment they're using is done by Ericsson, which is great. So that's a very basic tower and radio overview. Next slide. This is a $300 million investment in terms of the project. And we're thrilled that Rogers, through our competitive process, Rogers is $150 million of their money towards the project. And of course, we had secured the commitments of Canada and Ontario, each at $71 million. And of course, the EOWC and of course, the United Counties are contributing their share of $10 million towards the project. And we like to say, just to remind people that the does a business on the administration side of these projects, try to run as lean and efficient. So our project and the cost we think is efficient and cost-effective numbers. So that's the breakdown. And as I say, it's going to lead to a $300 million investment across the region. Next. This is a map, and what we're showing on this map, if you can see the green dots there, they represent the existing Rogers tower footprint across Eastern Ontario. These are the sites that are being upgraded or uplifted, as they call it, with the new equipment. And we aren't showing on here the 300 new towers that will be built because really we don't have those tower sites secured until they go through the land use authority process. They're cited by the engineers and once we have a site that is fully through the approval process, then we'll start to populate this map, and you'll start in terms of the new representation for next. Can we go? Next slide. Or are we having trouble? Thank you. So I mentioned that EOWC is putting in $10 million together along with the Mayor's Caucus, but Prescott-Russell's contribution is substantial and very much appreciated, just over $680,000. and certainly that's going to mean upgrading of the existing sites that we have, and as Roger looking new sites. But each of the communities in Prescott-Russell will play a role in approving proposed tower sites in your counties. The land use authority rests with the local municipalities, so we hope that we will work with you as we work through that process, but we'd like it to be as efficient as possible so that we can get to construction, obviously, but we need to go through that LUA locally. Next slide. This is just shows you where the existing sites are in Prescott-Russell. There are 15 sites that will be upgraded as part of the work, and we think between 10 and 20 new sites will be required to give us the comprehensive coverage that you need across the county. So as those new sites are acquired, then we'll repopulate this map with the new towers. But we wanted you to know what the scenario looks like right now, and we'll be filling that in with the new tower sites as they get built. Next slide. There are lots of benefits to the project, and I know Lene and her team are going to speak about that in just a minute, but it means there will be some more competition across the region in terms of cellular services. We are getting a Rogers national network in Eastern Ontario, that high standard, which is fantastic. And thankfully, the new towers will also allow for future deployment of fixed wireless technology and new technology to 5G as that rolls out. So it has that potential benefit, although we're talking today about the cell project itself, having that infrastructure sets up the future as well for additional broadband services. And certainly Rogers is committed to working with EORN and stakeholders around some community benefits process, and I can speak to that. So I'll leave that. Next slide. These are the timelines. We've been active for a long time, as I've said before, but some of the important things that we have to do, we have a responsibility for consultation with First Nations, and we started that formally. We've been, of course, sharing information for more than a year now, but formally we got started on DTC, and Lisa and I and the team do a lot of work on that front. It was approved by Rogers itself on March 18th, and then the official launch happened on March the 19th. So not too long ago, we really got started with Rogers, and we've been doing these presentations across Eastern Ontario this spring. So it's we've put the pedal to the metal, if I can say that, to start really working on the project now that Rogers is on board, and we're absolutely thrilled that Rogers is our partner. They are doing amazing things, and will do amazing things as we work through. So that's the timeline that we're at right now. But as I said, the work on the existing tower uplifts is already started, and the site selection process is underway. So we've got a good launch. Next slide. Maybe we'll hold the questions if that's okay. I'm sure that when Lene and her team does the presentation, it'll answer probably some of the questions you have in your mind, but if not, we'll have some time at the end. Thanks very much. Lene.
Thanks, Jim. I'll just wait for our content to come up. Maybe we're waiting for that. Hello, Your Worship, Sarzan, and all council members. Thank you so much for having me and Rogers here today. My name is Lene McKenzie, and I am one of the team members that is committed to delivering this very exciting initiative for Eastern Ontario. I'm thrilled personally to be here today. I have worked for Rogers for a very long time, and there is nothing that brings me more satisfaction than bringing connectivity to new communities. Today, wireless services are not a nice to have. They are a need to have. And so when we can bring that net new connectivity to places that don't have it today, I think that's where we feel our work is most worthwhile. So we thank not only you here today, but also the entire EORN board, Jim, David, Lisa, of course, the whole team for partnering with Rogers on this initiative. You can go to the next slide. So this evening, our conversation and what we're going to share with you is going to cover a few important pieces. We're going to start off with some background on Rogers and our involvement in the Cell Gap project and how we engage with communities when we work with them. So, one of the things that Jim didn't touch on is that we're not just here to build a network. We're here to be part of the community and support it holistically, in ways other than just bringing this connectivity. So we're going to talk to you a little bit about that. Then we're going to take you through some of the details about 5G technology. I think, our approach and view on 5G is that it's really about educating people about what it brings and what it offers, and how it enables communities to really do more, better, faster, and smarter. And then we're going to take you through our expected timeline for delivery. We'll review some of the coverage maps to the region, and then after that, we can, as Jim mentioned, open the floor for some questions and answer. Before we go into the formal presentation, we have a short video here that helps explain a little bit more about who we are as Rogers, so we can get to know each other a little bit better. So if you want to roll the video, we'll watch that, and then I'll move over to the rest of the presentation. Olivia, I'm assuming you're trying to do that. I know you said for me to give you the cue. That's the cue.
Yes, it shouldn't be too long.
Okay, good. I just want to make sure because you're so specific about that.
It will just take a second.
Okay, if it's too much difficulty, we don't have to play it.
He just need to reconnect.
Oh.
He must not have Rogers where he is.
We're working on that. Honestly, if it's too much trouble, we could just go back to the presentation. We don't have to play the video.
Yes, maybe it's a good idea to maybe continue with
let's
the
do that. I
presentation,
don't
and
wanna
maybe we can
waste
try the
time.
video later on.
You know what? We can send the video out as a link if we want.
Oh.
There's lots of ways to. Oh, no,
Oh,
maybe it's
maybe
fine.
we can try it now.
Okay, let's go for it.
Okay.
Oh.
We are Rogers.
We bring people together.
We connect them to each other
and to the world around them. And that's why we wake up each and every day. To connect Canadians to a world of possibilities
and the memorable moments that matter most to them.
Because connections unite us, possibilities fuel us,
and moments define us.
We help turn possibility into reality. And we believe our people are at the heart of it all.
That success starts with me,
with you,
and with us.
with us,
With all of us.
We believe our customers always come first. They inspire everything that we do. We believe in pushing boundaries and the power of new ideas. We believe in doing what's right.
With honesty, transparency,
And integrity.
we believe in helping our communities thrive.
In doing our part to make the world a better place. We work as one team. With one vision.
Because we win as one.
Or not at all.
Together. Together.
Together.
Together.
Together.
Together. Together. We are Rogers. We are one team with one purpose.
One set of values
Values that honor our past
and our future.
Together.
will make more possible.
I think that tells you a little bit about who we are. And I don't know if you picked up on it, but really our mission at Rogers is to wake up every day with one purpose in mind, and that's to connect Canadians to a world of possibilities, memorable moments, and the things that matter to their lives. And we're so thrilled, frankly, to be able to do that and bring that to Eastern Ontario and of course, your community specifically. I mentioned the fact that when we partner with communities, we really want to be a part of that community, and I think we were thrilled to be chosen to be part of this unique public-private partnership, and we're really committed to doing our part to eradicate the rural divide in Ontario, and frankly, a province that Rogers calls home. We're proud that our $150 million investment into this area is going to bring vital services. That includes bringing wireless connectivity to over 11,000 kilometers of highways in Eastern Ontario. And as you've already heard from Jim, that will also bring voice calling services to at least 99% of the in-demand area that EHORN has defined. It's 113 municipalities, of course, many important Indigenous communities, and will include the development, as we've mentioned, of over 300 new sites on top of the 300 that already exist in the region today. And in process of doing that, we also will be bringing absolutely the newest technology available, frankly, in the world to Eastern Canada as we upgrade that our existing, and the new sites will, of course, all be 5G. It's really thrilling to be a part of something of this big in nature. This is really a significant build for us here at Rogers. And it's really expected to bring immense growth to Eastern Ontario. It's projected that the work that we will do and the benefits that this network will bring will generate over 3,000 new jobs and bring over $420 million in economic growth to the region. So really exciting. We can go to the next slide. So at Rogers, I mentioned that, you know, we're more than just building a network. We're about, we feel it's our responsibility to lift up communities that we operate in, to help them thrive, and to do that as a partner. And we're committed to lending our help. There are three main ways that we do this with communities. First is, of course, as I mentioned, bridging that digital divide. We believe that connecting Canadians to the digital world helps them thrive at school, at work, and setting them up for future success. And I think we all would agree with the last year and a bit that we've been through that this couldn't be more important than it ever has been now. And two of the examples that we have today that supports this initiative is that we have a program called Connected for Success. And of course, this isn't the wireless program, but as Jim mentioned, the networks that we're going to build are not going to stop at just this wireless voice and mobile data network. We're going to continue to evolve. And our Connected for Success program brings high-speed, low-cost internet to subsidized tenants, seniors and families with children, and to individuals receiving disability and income support. And so that's a program we're very proud of and look forward to supporting in Eastern Ontario. We also are a significant supporter to women's shelters. Through Women's Shelters Canada, we offer support with financial aid, but also devices and coverage plans to help ensure that they can stay connected. Recently, we announced expansion of this program and reaching over 100 more women's shelters, many of them in Ontario and Eastern Ontario today. And if there are shelters that you work with today that you want to be part of this program, then please just have them get in contact with eHorn or ourselves, and we would love to include them in it. The second thing that area of focus that we support is really around investing and empowering youth to make sure that they can be reaching their highest potential. Youth are fundamentally important to us at Rogers, and we do this in many different ways. We have a Ted Rogers Scholarship Program, which of course we will bring to the area. To date, this year we have awarded over 1,800 scholarships to youth across Canada, and they are significant scholarships. It's $2,500 in funding per year of study. So really looking to empower youth to be the best they can. We also have a Ted Rogers Community Grants Program that we absolutely want to bring to your communities. It allows us to provide organizations making a meaningful difference in the lives of youth through STEM or innovation or mentorship programs, community leadership, and we will actively be seeking input from you and your constituents to identify local organizations we can support with that program in the region. There's many others. There's a Jay's Care Foundation that brings youth program initiatives through baseball and building a baseball infrastructure in communities. Of course, we have a program called Rogers Hometown Hockey. If you've never been to it, we look forward to bringing that to communities within your area. And we've included this in Eastern Ontario and other places. Haliburton, Kingston, Belleville, Cobourg have already had it, but we will continue to bring that to more communities throughout Eastern Ontario. The third and final effort you will see as we look to give back locally is we encourage employees to be active members of our communities, and we have many employees who live in Eastern Ontario. Samir Seth, who's not here tonight, who's my colleague and lead on this project, actually lives in Ottawa. He's very familiar with Eastern Ontario, and we work with our employees to make sure we're giving back to the communities who give to us. And we've already begun to identify, organize Rogers employees who have ties to Eastern Ontario so that we can start to support you in your communities. We'd love to further engage to understand your local community needs and how we can make the most impact with our community support. We don't see this as a network only. We see this as a partnership, and a partnership that will extend far beyond the delivery of this program. So that's a little bit about who we are as Rogers and how we want to do this in partnership with you and your communities. I mentioned that we were going to talk a little bit about 5G. And so, you know, I really like to, I think sometimes there is a misunderstanding or fears about what 5G is. 5G is really just the next evolution of wireless technology. You may recall 2G, 3G, 4G, of course, is what LTE is today. 5G is the next generation, and really what it brings is unprecedented speeds, instant response times, and allows us to really start to do things that we would have never dreamed of doing before. And so some of those real life experiences that these networks will enable are things like helping first responders save lives by providing them with their own dedicated fast networks, connecting those first responders as they're bringing a patient back to the hospital to run monitoring on that patient's vitals. Lots of really important things that will help improve and save lives. It'll enable things like allowing farmers time and money with wireless sensors that monitor soil conditions. One of the initiatives that we just did a recent trial of actually in BC is the use of 5G drones that will allow us to do things like help the future of agriculture, natural resources, infrastructure and utilities, construction, first responders. Just imagine the possibilities that could happen if we could be connecting areas of Eastern Ontario with that type of a technology and application. There's really a lot to come, and I will say even we as Rogers, a leader in 5G, only can imagine the possibilities what this will bring to your community. So looking forward to working with you as we start to roll these networks and they continue to evolve over time. I just want you to know that, of course, Rogers works with the utmost of safety standards. If you have constituents that are sharing concern or want to know more about 5G, we really want to help educate people so that you can feel confident and safe in this technology. I can tell you I personally trust this with my own family. I have 2 teenage boys. I talk to them about this every day, and it is very safe. And if you are feeling that you are need more support in telling that story, we absolutely want to do that with you. You can go to the, oh, you know what, I realized I didn't tell you to go to the next slide. So there's the 5G slide. Imagine the possibilities. You can go to the next slide. Okay, so of course, when we make an announcement like this, the first thing people ask is, when am I going to get the connectivity? When is it going to happen? And I mentioned to you, we really look at like this when you come into a community that potentially doesn't have electricity today and you turn that electricity on. It's a significant change to the lives of people and will be in your communities itself. But we do want to be transparent. This isn't a process. Building new sites does take time. You can see here some of the steps that we go through in terms of acquiring land, getting municipal approvals, and then actually, engineering and building the sites. And that process can take up to a year and a half to 2 years. The faster we can go through that land acquisition process, the faster, of course, things will materialize. And as Jim mentioned, we hit the ground running, so to speak. We already have land acquisitions that are being approved, and we will start to build this network. What you will see, and you can go to the next slide, come first, is the work that we can do on our existing towers, because of course there we have obviously the access and rights to that infrastructure, and it's work that we can do more easily. And it is important work as well. This of course is where we will visit an existing site. We're going to upgrade it to the latest and greatest in both LTE and 5G technology. So with our network partner, just for context, we have had a single and same network partner from equipment perspective since Ted Rogers started Rogers, which was Cantel at the time, and that is Ericsson. And so, this is work that we do in partnership with them, and you will start to see that materialize quite quickly. You can go to the next slide. So here's the time frame, and Jim touched on this a bit as well. Obviously, we were thrilled to be chosen as the partner of choice in March. We've already started to begin the uplift work on towers within the area, and of course, we will continue to share that with you as we go. For the first 2 years, the new site build piece is really about land acquisition. We will get shovels in the ground quickly. Some of that will be this year, but it is the portion of the project that does come more to the later end. And we will continue to circle back with you as important stakeholders to make sure that we're keeping you informed and apprised of how that goes within your community. You can go to the next slide. So this is a similar map to what Jim showed you, but of course is for the full Eastern Ontario area. And of course in Prescott-Russell, there are 15 existing sites. So those are the ones that we will do that first uplift work on. And we are planning to build between 10 to 20 net new sites to bring new coverage overall. And you can go to the next slide. And when we are done, the coverage area in Eastern Ontario will be very vast, as Jim mentioned, to 99% of the in-demand area. This is a projection of what that coverage will be, and it aligns specifically to what Eastern Ontario has defined as their in-demand area. You can go to the next slide. So that is as fast as I could get through our presentation, the content that we have today. But as Jim mentioned, I think it's important for us to open the floor for any questions you may have. We've included here some of the questions that we've gotten in other communities as we've gone, which we absolutely can answer, but we find it most successful if we go directly to what's on your mind first. And so I will open the floor for questions.
Thank you very much, Lenny and Jim, for the presentation. Is there anybody that would have questions for Jim or Lenny? So either we're all on top of things, we understand completely, or maybe, I don't know, what else?
Or maybe, Mr. Warden, I've done an incredible job of keeping you up to date.
That's got to be the answer. That is definitely the answer. That was great. Well,
maybe I could just say one thing is, in other communities, what we've heard is that there are, residents and landowners who want to contribute and be a part of this process, and perhaps, are looking for opportunities for them to provide real estate or land for us to build this network on. Obviously, there are financial rewards for that. We have set up a process with the RN where those people are able to connect and get into our streams with our land acquisition team. So if you do have people reaching out who want to be a part of that, we absolutely welcome that partnership. And as I mentioned, we are committed to staying closely linked to you and your constituents as you go. Rogers views everything as a partnership, and so really want to make sure that is today, tomorrow, and even beyond this network being completed. And we thank you for that opportunity. We're looking forward to building this with you.
So I would imagine you have like specific areas you're looking to install towers. Will that be shared with the public, or?
Yeah, so we do. So our engineering teams have obviously gone through a very extensive process to plot where we would like the sites to be. We don't share that publicly. Again, as Jim mentioned, we're in a competitive business. That would be like them getting a rule book. So, but what we would welcome is if anyone is in a position where they would like to have their area or real estate area assessed, that can come into eHorn and we will assess it. We're building a lot of sites here. There's a very good chance that if there is land available, that it likely would be suited for a portion of this. So we would love the opportunity to assess that if there are willing participants.
So would you say that, people that has like land on, like, let's say that are elevated has more like opportunity than plain fields, or?
It depends. Wireless networks can be impacted by many things: terrain, pine needles are not great, rock, all of those things. But yeah, generally, the higher you can go, the better reach you can get, and the more desirable it would likely be, generally speaking.
All right, that's good information. Any more questions from the council members? Seeing none.
Warden Sarrazin, it's Jim again. Can I just say one last thing? In addition to thank you to all of you, really a special thank you to Mayor Leroux, who sits on the eHorn Board of Directors, and it takes a lot of his time. It's a busy board with the project and the other work that we're doing. So we really appreciate Pierre's commitment to the board of directors and eHorn, and of course Stéphane Prusien, who is a co-lead for eHorn, and Stéphane doesn't count the number of hours that he contributes to eHorn because it would take too long to do that. So we really appreciate it, and I have to do a shout out to Mayor Saint-Amour as well, who over the years has been a tremendous supporter of eHorn, and we appreciate all of that. And of course, to you, your worship as warden of the counties and a member of the EOWC, your support too has been great. But Prescott-Russell has always been there for eHorn, and I know that they're there for us with Rogers in this project going forward. So thanks for the opportunity to present and try and answer some questions.
Thank you very much, Jim. So does that conclude our meeting for tonight, or would you like to say a few words, Mr. Parisier?
Well, if you ask me, I will, for sure. No, I think that the lack of questions is just a testament of how Eorn has been good at communicating with all municipalities, and the relationship that was built over the years is also largely due to the EOWC that created the EORN. I'm just remiss of the time I started as a CAO, which was almost 19 years ago, and Jim Pine took me under his wing, and our warden became the chair for EOWC in 2004. And now I look at a bunch of competent CAOs around the table, and me and Mr. Pine are the ones that are on the way out, and we have all of these newcomers and, you know, on the rosters willing to make a go or a bid for the Stanley Cup. So I'm just kudos to Jim for standing by all of these years, and also to Lisa Severson, who's on tonight. Lisa's been with us forever, so it's been a great ride, and I'm just hoping we can, you know, we don't run out of gas, and we still have more gas to do the gig project later on. So thank you very much, Jim, Lisa, and to Rogers as well, and everyone included in the project. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you. I would take that as a closing remark. So I guess we'll call the adjournment if we don't have any more questions or any more comments. So I would ask mover and seconder, and once again, thank you very much, Lenny and Jim, for the presentation. So we have Mrs. Astley that proposed the adjournment with Mr. Leroux. All in favor? So thank you, everybody, for being with us tonight.
Go Habs, go.
Go Habs. Bye-bye.
Everybody.
Stay safe.
Good evening.
Move on.